Chapter 9. This one doesn't have a title yet because I couldn't be bothered to think of one. Who cares? Sandra woke up, rolling over and rubbing his eyes. When he looked around the room, he didn't recognize it, and he was alone. It took him a second to realize he was in the same room as his dream the other night. This is so weird. Where is this place? He sat up and gazed around. The bedroom was pretty plain, having the layout that you would expect from a bedroom. A bed, a desk, a TV, not that Sandra recognized it on sight, and some wardrobes and such. I should keep quiet. Last time I heard someone beyond the door, he thought. Oh, this is not edited. Why is this not edited? Because I expanded upon that thought. Hold on. Oh my god, on the fly editing. I'm such a disaster. Okay, hold on. Yeah, because I didn't quite finish that thought, or rather, like... There we go. I should keep quiet. Last time I heard someone beyond the door, they tried to enter and that ended the dream, he thought. As much as he wanted to find out who that was, and why the voice sounded so familiar to him, the unknown factor of it all terrified him. His first goal was to figure out what this room was, and if it was significant to him or not. He sat at the chair at the desk in the room and began to rummage around for things. He found a backpack under the desk with various notebooks and with writing in them. Some had numbers, but it was mostly words. History. Math. He thought, flipping through the pages. He was trying to figure out what it all meant before he had the thought of, I wonder if I have any homework. He paused. Wait, what's homework? He checked some of the papers again. One had his name at the top, Sandra Tefra. Somehow I did remember that, he said. I guess that confirms it. He put the books back in the bag and put the bag back under the desk. He sat at the chair for a while, stumped. I guess this is my room then, since it has papers in it with my name on it. That settled that mystery, naturally, so there only left one other thing, the voice from before. Trying to steel himself, he got up to the bedroom door, which was closed. He gave a light knock, trying to get the attention of whoever was on the other side. Nothing. Maybe I should knock louder, he thought. He took a breath and then knocked louder. A voice came from the other side and tried to open the door. Sandra? It cried. Again, it sounded like a woman, but Sandra was unsure. He pushed against the door with his body weight, hoping that would keep the dream from ending, like last time. Don't come in. I just want to talk for a second, he said, hoping that all made any sense. What? Sandra, let me in your room. Where have you been? The woman cried. Where have I been? Just hold on. If you come in, I think I'll wake up. What? She sounded exasperated. This is a dream, but I want to talk to you a little before I wake up. The pushing against the door ceased. This is a dream, isn't it? The woman said, sounding defeated. Yes, a nightmare, I suppose, she continued, mostly to herself. Just, can I know who you are? It's been bugging me, Sandra said. Something told him that came off like an understatement. Don't you remember? She asked. She spoke more, but her voice was drowned out by a roaring in Sandra's ears, and his vision went black again. Sandra woke with a start, though when he looked out the window, he realized it was nighttime still. It was still nighttime. He was right where he had fallen asleep, on the futon laid out for him by Nikia, and his teammates were sleeping on either side of him, also on their own futons. He breathed a sigh of relief to be back somewhere he recognized, but at the same time couldn't shake off the anxiety from his dream. I still have so many questions. I feel like the more I learn, the less I'm actually learning. He got up carefully and exited the room, sure to not wake any of his teammates. He felt too awake to try to go back to sleep, so he figured he'd get something to drink and relax for a moment before trying again. He didn't mention he was going to do that, so I guess I'll specify. He got a glass of water and sat down in the dining room when he heard someone entering the room, when he heard someone entering the room, he nearly screamed. Nikia and Sandra locked eyes, causing the latter to jump, nearly spilling his glass everywhere, and the former to only gain a concerned look on his face. Sandra, why are you awake? Nikia asked. I had a nightmare, Sandra replied, forgetting to think of a better excuse. Nikia sat across from him at the table, looking guilty. I'm so sorry if it was about earlier. But, no. It was about me being in a room I didn't recognize, but it had papers and stuff in it with my name on it. But I didn't remember writing any of it, and also I kept hearing this familiar voice trying to talk to me. Oh, Nikia replied. I see. He seemed relieved for a moment before looking contemplative. That sounds frightening, by the way. Sandra nodded. It seems to me like it's fear of the unknown, who you used to be. Yeah, Sandra said, sighing. It's like everything is so close, but the more I remember, the less it all makes sense. I understand. I hope you can make sense of all this soon, Nahia said. It sounds like a lot of stress to deal with for being so young. Oh, how old are you then? 21, Nahia said. But Hariora says I'm 21 going on 40, so I suppose I act a little older than I am. I did think his teammates were slightly older. Him and his teammates. Or slightly older, Sandra thought. What were you doing awake, by the way? Just doing a patrol, I suppose. To make sure all was well, Nahia answered. Sandra started thinking. Something about the way he said that sounded concerning. Do you have to worry about attacks? No. It's just something I like to do, I suppose. It gives me peace of mind. I don't blame you if you think that makes me sound paranoid. I don't think so, Sandra said. Sounds like something I would do, because I'm always nervous. Nahia nodded. I wouldn't call it nervousness. Not on my end, at least. He paused for a moment. Do you know where Mount Heliotrope is? I'm assuming no. Sandra shook his head. I used to live on that mountain. That's where I was raised. I lived on a cliff respite kind of area between Mount Heliotrope's base and summit. He demonstrated what he meant with his hands. He demonstrated the shape of the mountain. Wow, that's a very repetitive sentence. No. Why are you lagging so bad? Stop lagging so badly. You can tell I wrote this while I was half asleep. Because I wrote this like in the middle of the night one night. Okay, let's try this over. He showed what he meant with his hands. He demonstrated the shape of the mountain, then showed approximately where he lived by pointing to a side of where he made the mountain shape previously. There's an area that wraps around the mountain, and that's where I was raised. Obviously, we were flanked on both sides by dungeons. It's a dungeon? Yes, so I suppose I'm used to scouting out for trouble. My parents were unable to fight, so I would have been the one to protect us if something had happened. Sandra wanted to ask more, but didn't want to pry. He was surprised that Nahia, who seemed so closed off, was being this open about himself. So you grew up by yourself? Not necessarily. I have a younger brother. I was just mostly the one that my parents relied on more. They ended up being on the mountain together before I was born. It's a very long story, so I won't bore you with it, but an avalanche happened that they were caught in. My mother and father both suffered broken limbs, and they never quite healed right, and thus they were stuck there. My mother gets around much better than my father, but even so, the climb down from the mountain and back is hard, even with fully functional arms and legs. That all made sense to Sandra, so he nodded. Are they all right? Are they doing all right without you? Of course, my parents do perfectly well for themselves, surprisingly. How do they feel about you being an explorer? They're very proud. I wonder what my mom would say, Sandra said, so he was confused as to why he said that. I wish I remembered her. You'll remember in due time, I'm sure. And once both of you are reunited, I'm sure she'll be thrilled that you decided to form an exploration team. It's a very noble thing to do. He stood up. But regardless, if you want to be a good leader, that means getting some more sleep. Sandra frowned. All right. He stood up as well. Thanks for talking to me, Nahia. I really appreciate it. It's no problem, Nahia said. Sleep well. Despite how hard he tried, Sandra didn't get any more sleep that night, so when he heard Lampiri waking up, he quickly pretended to be asleep. Lampiri sat up and stretched. She turned and saw that her two teammates still seemed to be asleep. Guys? Excuse me, guys, she whispered, before shrugging and shaking both of them. Hey, good morning! Laura groaned and mumbled something, still half asleep. Curiously, she kept her mask on. Oh, you actually slept in your mask? Lampiri asked. Yeah, so? Laura asked, sitting up. I'm awake too, Sandra said. Huh, good morning, Sandra, Lampiri said. How'd you both sleep? Laura shrugged. I think I had a bad dream, Sandra said, trying to lie, but forgetting halfway through. Oh no, poor thing, Lampiri said. About what? I don't think you mentioned it. Sandra sat up and told the two about his nightmares. Sounds weird, Laura said, getting up from the futon. I still think you're just dealing with the guilt of being a former criminal. He's definitely not a former criminal, Lampiri frowned, feeling bad. His dreams sound scary more than weird. I'm so sorry though, Sandra. Hopefully that stops soon. Sandra nodded. Me too. I feel like I'm not really resting at all. You tell me about not resting. I also slept like crud, Laura began, walking to the door. I want to see if anybody else is awake, because I want some food. She left without another word. I think it's because she slept with her mask on, Lampiri said. Definitely, Sandra said. I wonder why she felt the need to do that. Then again, I guess she did wake up first yesterday, so she could have taken it off the other night without anyone noticing anything. I don't see why she feels the need that she has to. I'm sure she has a nice face, Lempiere said. Well, whatever the reason, I guess it's not any of our business. No, it isn't, Lempiere said, looking a little disappointed. I just wish we could make it clear that she doesn't have to hide anything from us. Maybe trust is hard for her, Sandra said, standing up. Maybe, so we'll try extra hard to be trustworthy, Lempiere said, standing up as well. The two entered the dining room. Laura was sitting at the table, as was Arioris. He seemed to be doing a lot better than the night before. Eventually, the night before, he made it out of his bedroom to join Team Searchlights and the rest of his team for dinner, but he still didn't look too great. This morning, however, he seemed bright and healthy. Mornin', Arioris said. In front of him was a cup filled with some kind of liquid Sandra was unable to identify, but it smelled pretty nice. Sandra and Lempiere took a seat. Good morning, Sandra said. Good morning, Arioris, Lempiere said. Is that coffee? My dad likes that. Yep, but you kids aren't old enough for it, Arioris said, so you're not getting any. Sandra felt a little disappointed, but he didn't feel the need to protest. Felicia popped her head into the dining room from the kitchen and waved. Good morning, guys! Nikki and I are working on breakfast right now, but once that's done and we're all changed, we'll move out back to Musetown. Stop saying his full name. You don't do that. Maybe I should just stop keeping that up, because I keep forgetting. Okay, Lempiere replied. Sounds good to me. Laura seemed pleased with that update as well. It'll be nice to finally be in my own bed again. Sandra realized he was accidentally zoning out, so he missed what Felicia said. You okay, kid? Arioris asked. I slept pretty bad, Sandra replied. Arioris thought for a moment, shrugged, and passed him the mug that was in front of him. Here, have some of this. That might help. Hey! Laura cried. I slept bad too. Look, 15 was my cutoff. Coffee stunts your growth anyway, so unless you want to be short like me, Arioris joked. Laura crossed her arms. Oh no, will Sandra be short then? Lempiere asked. Nah, he's got evolving to do. He'll be fine. Arioris stood up. I'll see if Nikki or Sia need any help. I trust you kids won't burn the house down by the time we're back. He chuckled a little, then left. Sandra picked up the cup in front of him and took a sip. Surprisingly, the drink didn't taste as nice as it smelled, but he didn't mind the flavor either way. How is it? Lempiere asked. Sandra put the cup back down. I like it. I would ask for a sip. I would ask for a sip, but my dad says I don't need any more energy than I already have, Lempiere said. Laura laughed. He's right. Eventually, Team Kokonan brought breakfast into the room and the two teams ate together. Then they got ready to leave for Musetown. So basically, Team Searchlights and Team Kokonan. And I'm still working on Chapter 10, so we'll see how that goes.